Let's talk to someone who knows all about it, writer and journalist Jordan Tyldesley. Good evening, Jordan.
Hi, Kevin. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, this is the work of what Toby Young dubbed offence archaeologists, people who go through old tweets, ostensibly just to wreck the lives of successful people. They've managed to dig up these ancient tweets that Ollie Robinson posted when he was 18. He's now 27, 28, happily married, a different individual. He's apologised for what it's worth, got suspended from the test team anyway, under investigation for what? We know what he did. He's admitted it. He said sorry. What's the investigation for? Now he's stepped down from his club. So basically, these woke warriors have ruined this young man's life. This is vicious, horrible, and wrong, is it not?
Absolutely. It shows a remarkable lack of forgiveness. It's concerning. It should trouble everyone, really. And now Owen has decided to step away from cricket for the indefinite future until he is able to manage his mental health. I mean, I think that's incredibly sad, but that's the way cancel culture works. We often assume that cancel culture is just about somebody coming in and turfing you out of your position of work, whereas actually it often works at an implicit and insidious level whereby you actually cancel yourself because you've been made to feel so unwanted, so embarrassed, and so ashamed of your behaviour that you feel you're not able to actually be on any sort of public platform. It's incredibly sad.
The real essence of the sadness is the way that the authorities, and it's not just cricket, it happens in football, it happens in companies, happens all through British life now, actually, in America as well. That it's the way that the authorities, that bosses, company owners react to these rather absurd discoveries of old tweets. Because also the English Test Board, the cricket authorities, are investigating another test player, we don't know who it is yet, who apparently posted something allegedly offensive when he was 15. In other words, when he was a child. And that guy's career could be ruined for something he did when he was a kid. This is just out of control.
Yeah, it's mass hysteria. It really is. We've become obsessed with historical revisionism. And it's not even about looking at the past and wanting to revise elements. It's about actively wanting to change the past. It's about wanting to erase history. It's about wanting to pretend that the past didn't happen. You know, you have to look at these tweets in the environment that they were made in. I mean, at that time, people would send those sort of offensive jokes. It was all part of the lad culture. I mean, are we going to pretend that that wasn't a thing?
Mm.
Because it certainly was.
Yeah, and what's happening now as a result of this is that the Test Board, the England Cricket Board, are actively involved in sort of looking at every player's past in terms of social media posts. I mean, apart from the self-harming nature of that we're going to sort of deprive ourselves of some very good cricketers,
Mm.
it's just madness, isn't it?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this used to be a case of the Conservatives who think of like Mary Whitehouse and this sort of pearl clutching mentality. But now you have so-called liberals who act like moral detectives. They're positively puritanical in the way that they behave online. And that's filtered into organizations, it's filtered into the workplace, and it is quite concerning.
I'll tell you what is a mystery to me, and perhaps you could enlighten me, but I won't blame you if you can't, because no one seems to know. It's this. Who are these people? Who are these offence archaeologists? Well, you know, they spend hours, days, weeks doing this, going through the social media past of every prominent person to see if they can find some damaging stuff. Who's doing this?
I absolutely, I don't know. I mean, I think that the vast majority of people aren't on board with this. They think it's absolutely insane, but they are appeasing a very small minority of Twitter users who are hysterical and obviously have nothing else better to do than to troll through somebody's old tweets from a decade ago. It's pathetic.
Yeah, and I think this is affecting everyone's behaviour. Everyone now increasingly walks on eggshells. You know, you have
Yeah.
to be careful what you say. You have to be careful what you tweet. These offence archaeologists, these woke warriors, have engendered in this country a kind of sort of 1970s Eastern Bloc communist atmosphere, you know, where we worry about the tyrants who control us. This is an extremely pernicious situation, is it not?
Absolutely. Like I said before, it's reminiscent of sort of a McCarthy era. Obviously not in its content, but in the way that it behaves. It's almost pearl clutching. They dress it up as progressivism, but at its core, it's actually deeply conservative in the way that they behave.
Yeah, you're right. That's a very good analogy. It's a moral McCarthyism, is it not? But
Yeah.
I just wish that the cricket authorities, the football authorities, companies, all sorts of organisations would just stand up to these offence archaeologists and say, "Oh well, thank you very much for this tweet you found that our fast bowler posted when he was a child. But what we're going to do is completely ignore you." That
Yeah.
would get them to stop doing this, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, what more can he do at this point? He has apologised. I think it's a sincere apology. He's apologised to his teammates. He's had to put up with public scrutiny and shame. At this point, really, what more can he do? What were they hoping to achieve through these investigations?
And don't forget that poor Ollie was made to, in a sort of Maoist Chinese kind of a way, to stand there and make this sort of statement, atoning for his sins,
Yeah.
issuing his public penance. It was very sort of Chinese or Burmese, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean it's troubling. I'm a woman. I also consider myself to be a feminist. A lot of those tweets were actually quite misogynist in nature. Am I offended by them? No, because I'm an adult, and I recognise that people aren't perfect. People have their opinions. People have, people want to say a joke. I'm not going to sit there and be wounded by it because it would be utterly pathetic. I think anybody that is deeply wounded by a stranger's tweets from more than a decade ago, written by a teenager, really ought to get a grip.
And all these people who think that he deserves what was coming to him should realise that for tweets he sent as a teenager, a young man who was last week bowling for his country and a great cricketer playing for Sussex, is now not playing for any team, but he is at home nursing his emotional wounds, dealing with his mental health problems, with his career in tatters, surrounded by his family. That's what these people have done, and I think that's an absolute disgrace. Jordan, thank you so much for your time. Great stuff. Jordan Tyldesley there, writer and journalist. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, and this is the Home and the Zone of Free Speech and Common Sense Talk Radio.